Lesson 1: Healthy Habits.
Hey Anna, have you done your morning exercise yet?
Morning. Yes, I just finished a quick jog around the park. It really wakes me up and gets my blood flowing.
That's great. I prefer a brisk walk myself. It's a nice way to start the day.
Absolutely. Fresh air and some movement is the perfect way to energize before diving into work.
I agree. I noticed you've been bringing your own lunch to work lately. Is that part of your new healthy routine?
It is. I've been trying to cook more meals at home instead of eating out. It's better for my wallet and my waistline.
Cooking at home is so much healthier. What's your favorite homemade dish?
I'd have to say my vegetable stir fry. It's quick, packed with nutrients, and very tasty.
Yum, that sounds delicious. I should try making that myself. Any tips for a beginner cook like me?
Definitely start with fresh, seasonal veggies. And don't be afraid to experiment with different seasonings.
Got it. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks for the advice. Healthy habits are so important.
You're welcome. Taking care of ourselves should be a priority. Small changes can make a big difference.
Absolutely. I'm going to try to incorporate more exercise and homemade meals into my routine.
That's wonderful to hear. I'm happy to share any other healthy tips if you need them.
I appreciate that. It's been great chatting with you about this. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Lesson 2: Travel Tips.
Excuse me, do you have a minute to discuss travel plans?
Certainly. I'd be happy to share some of my travel experience with you.
Great, thanks. I'm hoping to plan a trip to Europe this summer, but I'm not sure where to start.
Europe is such a diverse continent with so many incredible destinations. Where are you most interested in visiting?
Well, I'd love to see the iconic landmarks in places like Paris, London, and Rome. But I'm also curious about exploring some lesser known spots.
That's a great approach. I'd recommend at least a week in each country to fully immerse yourself in the culture.
A week in each place? That sounds like it would take a lot of time. Do you have any tips for maximizing my time?
Absolutely. I'd suggest focusing on 3 to 4 countries and really diving deep into those destinations.
That makes sense. Any recommendations on must see cities or regions within those countries?
For France, I'd highly recommend Paris, of course, as well as the stunning countryside of Provence.
Boo, Provence sounds lovely. What about in the other countries?
In the UK, London is a must, but don't forget about charming towns like Edinburgh and the Lake District.
Wonderful, those all sound right up my alley. And for Italy?
For Italy, Rome and Florence are iconic, but Venice and the Amalfi Coast are also incredible.
Wow, that gives me a lot to think about. I really appreciate you sharing your travel expertise.
I'm happy to help. Let me know if you need any other tips as you start planning your European adventure.
I will definitely do that. This has been so useful. I'm feeling inspired to book my trip now.
Lesson 3: Beachside Bliss.
I've been meaning to ask you, what's your favorite part about going to the beach?
Ooh, that's a great question. For me, it's all about that feeling of the sun on my skin and the sound of the waves.
I agree, there's something so calming and refreshing about being by the ocean. Do you have a favorite beach you like to visit?
Definitely. I love the beaches on the Amalfi Coast in Italy. The water is just the most gorgeous shade of blue.
Wow, the Amalfi Coast, huh? I can only imagine how stunning that must be. What do you enjoy doing when you're there?
Oh, I could spend hours just walking along the coastline and taking in the views. And of course, there's nothing better than dipping your toes in the cool water on a hot day.
That sounds heavenly. I have to admit, the idea of warm sand between my toes is really appealing right about now.
I know what you mean. The sand can get so hot, though. Do you ever struggle with that?
Absolutely. I remember one time, the sand was practically scorching my feet as we were walking back from the water.
Yes, that's the worst. I always make sure to bring some sandals or flip-flops to protect my feet.
Smart thinking. I'll have to remember that for my next beach trip. So, what else do you love about being by the ocean?
I'd have to say the overall sense of relaxation and freedom. There's just something so peaceful about being near the water.
I couldn't agree more. It's the perfect way to unwind and recharge. Now I'm really itching to plan a beach getaway.
You should definitely do it. I'd be happy to share more of my favorite beach tips if you need any other recommendations.
I appreciate that. This conversation has me dreaming of soft sand, cool breezes, and crystal clear waters.
Lesson 4: Culinary Adventure.
Morning. I was hoping we could chat about our favorite foods today.
Excellent idea. I'm always eager to discuss delicious cuisine.
Wonderful. I know you've mentioned enjoying Korean food before. What are some of your favorite Korean dishes?
Ooh, good question. I absolutely adore bibimbap. The mix of rice, vegetables, and that tasty gochujang sauce is just divine.
Ah, yes, bibimbap is so flavorful and satisfying. What other Korean dishes have you tried and enjoyed?
Let me think. I'm also a big fan of kimchi stew. The spicy, tangy flavors are so comforting.
Kimchi stew, huh? I don't believe I've had that before. What's the basic preparation like?
It's made with fermented kimchi as the main ingredient, along with pork, tofu, and assorted vegetables. The broth is rich and dynamic in taste.
That sounds absolutely mouth-watering. I'll have to see if I can find a good Korean restaurant to try it.
Definitely. Korean cuisine has so many delicious options, beyond the classics like bulgogi and japchae.
Absolutely. I'm curious, are there any other lesser-known Korean dishes you'd recommend?
Ooh, let me think. Japchae is a personal favorite. Those sweet potato noodles are so unique and addictive.
Japchae, huh? I don't think I've encountered that one before. What does it entail?
It's a sweet, savory, and slightly chewy glass noodle dish made with vegetables and sometimes beef. The flavors are just sublime.
Wow, that sounds like an intriguing combination. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Haha, me too. Korean food is truly a culinary adventure. There's always something new and exciting to discover.
I appreciate you sharing your expertise. You've definitely piqued my interest in exploring more Korean specialties.
Anytime. I'd be more than happy to take you on a Korean food tour sometime.
I may just take you up on that offer. This has been a delightful conversation about our mutual love of delicious cuisine.
Lesson 5: A Historic Romance.
Greetings. I was wondering if you'd be interested in discussing a bit of early American history today.
Absolutely. I'm always eager to learn more about the origins of the United States.
Wonderful. Have you heard the story of Pocahontas and Captain John Smith?
Yes, I'm familiar with that fascinating tale from the early 1600s. It's such a captivating piece of history.
Indeed. From what I understand, their encounter occurred in 1606, during the first English settlement in Jamestown, Virginia.
That's right. Pocahontas was a young Native American woman who befriended the English colonists, including Captain Smith.
Exactly. And if I recall correctly, King James I of England actually approved the establishment of the Jamestown colony.
You're absolutely right. The Virginia Company of London received its royal charter from King James in 1606.
Fascinating. Do you know what prompted the king's decision to greenlight the Jamestown venture?
If I'm not mistaken, the English were eager to expand their colonial presence and establish a foothold in the New World.
Ah, yes, that makes sense. They were likely looking to compete with the Spanish and secure economic opportunities.
Precisely. The colonization of Virginia was seen as a way to boost England's global influence and prosperity.
Interesting. And of course, the story of Pocahontas and John Smith has become an enduring part of that history.
Absolutely. Their relationship, whether romantic or not, has become the stuff of legend.
Indeed. It's a captivating tale of cross-cultural encounter and the complexities of the colonial era.
I agree. There's so much we can learn from exploring the nuances of that historical period.
Definitely. I appreciate you engaging with me on this topic. It's been an enlightening discussion.
The pleasure is all mine. I always enjoy delving into the rich tapestry of our shared history. Lesson 6: A Shopping Adventure.
Good evening. I heard you went shopping today. How was it?
Excellent. I had a wonderful time exploring the shops downtown.
That's great to hear. Did you end up finding anything interesting?
I did indeed. I picked up a few new outfits that I'm really excited about.
Wonderful. Do you usually go shopping with friends or family?
It depends. Sometimes I go on my own, but other times I bring whoever wants to join me.
That makes sense. It's always more fun to shop with company, don't you think?
Absolutely. I find it's a great way to catch up and spend quality time together.
I imagine so. What do you and your friends or family typically do when you go shopping?
Oh, we browse the stores, try on clothes, and give each other honest opinions. It's a real bonding experience.
That sounds delightful. Do you have any favorite stores or shopping districts in the area?
I do. There's this charming little boutique downtown that I just adore. The owner is so friendly and helpful.
That's wonderful. It's always nice to find those hidden gem shops, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes we'll even grab a bite to eat or stop for coffee in between stores.
Oh, that sounds like the perfect day out. A little shopping, a little dining, can't beat that.
Exactly. It's a wonderful way to spend an afternoon, in my opinion.
I can certainly see the appeal. Maybe I'll have to tag along with you and your crew next time.
You're more than welcome to. I think you'd really enjoy the experience.
I appreciate the invitation. It sounds like a delightful way to spend a day.
Lesson 7: Civic Duty.
Morning. Have you heard about the upcoming jury duty in our town?
Yes, I have. It's an important civic responsibility that we all must fulfill.
Indeed. I just received my summons in the mail the other day.
Oh, really? Are you nervous about serving on a jury?
To be honest, I'm a bit apprehensive. I've never done it before.
I understand the feeling, but try not to worry too much. It's an eye-opening experience.
I suppose you're right. What was your experience with jury duty like?
Well, I served a few years ago on a criminal case. It was intense at times, but very informative.
I can imagine. Did you find the process to be fair and impartial?
Absolutely. The judge and attorneys went to great lengths to ensure a just proceeding.
That's reassuring to hear. I want to make sure I take my civic duties seriously.
I'm sure you will. Just keep an open mind and listen carefully to the evidence.
That's good advice. Do you have any other tips for first time jurors?
Let me think. Oh, I'd recommend taking notes and asking questions if you're unsure.
Noted. I'll be sure to do that. What about the time commitment involved?
It can vary, but plan for at least a few days to a week, possibly longer for complex cases.
Wow, that's quite a significant time investment. I hope my employer is understanding.
I'm sure they will be. Jury duty is a protected right that employers have to respect.
That's good to know. I feel a bit more prepared now, thanks to your guidance.
Lesson 8, Currency Conversation.
Excuse me, do you have a moment to discuss exchange rates?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to chat about that. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm planning a trip overseas and wanted to get a sense of the current exchange rate.
Great timing. The exchange rate seems to be fluctuating quite a bit lately.
I see. Is there an easy way for me to keep track of the latest rates?
Yes, there are a few good options. Many banks and currency exchange services have online tools.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll have to check a few different sources.
Definitely. Comparing rates across providers can help you find the best deal.
Absolutely. And should I exchange my currency before I leave or wait until I arrive?
That's a great question. It often depends on the specific destination and their currency.
That's a good point. I'll be traveling to Europe, so the euro would be the main currency.
In that case, it might be best to exchange some money before your trip.
Okay, that makes sense. What about using my debit or credit card while I'm there?
Using cards is very convenient, but the exchange rates and fees can add up quickly.
I see. So it's better to have a mix of local currency and cards, then?
Precisely. That way you have the flexibility and can minimize the conversion costs.
Excellent advice. I really appreciate you taking the time to walk me through this.
Not a problem at all. Let me know if you have any other questions as you plan your trip.
Will do. This has been incredibly helpful. Thanks again for your expertise.
Lesson 9: Exploring accommodation options.
Good morning. I wanted to discuss some options for where to stay on my upcoming trip.
Wonderful, I'd be happy to help you explore some accommodation choices.
I'm trying to decide whether to stay in the city center or a bit further out.
That's a great consideration. What are the pros and cons you're weighing?
Well, I like the idea of being right in the heart of the action in the city center.
That makes sense. The convenience of being close to shops, restaurants, and attractions is appealing.
Exactly. But I've also heard staying outside the center can be more affordable.
That's a good point. The prices tend to be lower the farther you go from the city core.
That's an important factor to consider with my travel budget.
Absolutely. Have you looked at any specific neighborhoods or hotel options yet?
Not in detail, but I was thinking of checking out some reviews online.
Excellent idea. Reading reviews can give you a good sense of the pros and cons of each area.
Right, that way I can weigh the trade offs between cost and convenience.
Precisely. And don't forget to factor in transportation too, if you stay outside the center.
Good call. I'll need to look into how easy it is to get around from different locations.
Definitely. The last thing you want is to feel isolated or spend a lot of time commuting.
Absolutely. This is really helpful. I appreciate you talking through this with me.
I'm happy I could provide some useful perspective. Let me know if you have any other questions.
Will do. I'm feeling more informed now about where to start my accommodation search.
Lesson 10: Planning a weekend getaway.
Alright, I'm trying to finalize my travel plans for the weekend.
Excellent, I'd be happy to help you work out the details.
I'm thinking of leaving on Friday morning and returning on Sunday.
Okay, that gives you a nice long weekend to get away. Where are you planning to go?
I'm considering a trip to the coast, but I'm open to other ideas as well.
The coast could be lovely this time of year. What are you hoping to do on your trip?
I'd like to do some hiking, maybe visit a few small coastal towns.
That sounds like a wonderful plan. The scenery and quaint towns are so charming.
Exactly. And I'm hoping to find a cozy little inn or bed and breakfast to stay at.
That's a great idea. Those types of accommodations can really add to the experience.
Absolutely. Do you have any recommendations for specific towns or places to look into?
Let me think. A few towns that come to mind are Seaside and Cannon Beach.
Ooh, Cannon Beach, that's the one with the iconic haystack rock, right?
Yes, that's the one. It's a picturesque little town with gorgeous beaches.
Perfect, that's definitely going on my list then. I'll need to book my stay soon.
Definitely, the earlier the better, especially for a weekend getaway.
Great advice. I'll start looking into accommodations tonight.
Wonderful, I'm sure you'll find the perfect spot for your weekend escape.
I appreciate your help. This is really shaping up to be a fantastic trip.
Lesson 11, Home Security Tips.
Hey Anna, I've been thinking about improving the security around my home.
Oh, that's a smart idea. What kind of things are you considering?
Well, I've heard that motion sensor lights can be really effective.
Absolutely, those are a great deterrent. They'll scare off any potential intruders.
Exactly, that's a great way to deter potential intruders. I'll add that to my list too.
Definitely. And have you thought about installing a security camera system?
You know, that's a good point. I've been debating getting a few cameras set up.
They can be really helpful for monitoring activity around your home.
Yeah, and I like that I'd be able to check the footage if anything suspicious happens.
Absolutely, it provides that extra layer of security and peace of mind.
For sure. I'm also thinking about upgrading the locks on my doors and windows.
That's a smart move. Making sure your entry points are secure is crucial.
Definitely. Maybe I'll look into some smart locks that I can control remotely.
Ooh, that's a great idea. The convenience of remote access is really handy.
Exactly, and it would allow me to double check that everything is locked up.
Wonderful, it sounds like you're really taking the right steps to improve your home security.
I want to make sure my home and family are as protected as possible.
I can appreciate that. Safety should always be the top priority.
Absolutely. Thanks for the helpful suggestions. I've got a lot to consider now.
Lesson 12, The Great Migration.
Morning. Have you heard about the Great Migration that happened in the early 20th century?
No, I don't think I'm familiar with that. What can you tell me about it?
Well, it was a significant movement of African Americans from the rural South to the urban North.
Ah, I see. What were some of the factors that led to this migration?
Many were seeking to escape the oppressive Jim Crow laws and sharecropping system in the South.
And I imagine the promise of better economic opportunities in the North was a draw as well.
Exactly. Places like Chicago saw an influx of African American workers, especially in industries.
That's fascinating. I know the music scene in Chicago really benefited from this influx.
Absolutely. Jazz musicians like Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald moved north to Chicago.
Wow, that must have had a huge impact on the development of jazz in the city.
It did. The sounds of the Great Migration helped shape the iconic Chicago jazz style.
I can imagine the energy and vibrancy that all those new residents brought to the city.
Definitely. It was a transformative period that left a lasting mark on places like Chicago.
It's amazing how a mass migration like that can reshape the cultural landscape of a city.
Absolutely. The Great Migration was a pivotal moment in African American history.
I'm glad we got to discuss this important chapter. There's still so much to learn about it.
Definitely. It's a fascinating story that deserves more attention and exploration.
Lesson 13, Nailing the Interview.
Hey, I've got an important job interview coming up. Any tips on how to nail it?
Well, one key thing is to focus on your nonverbal communication during the interview.
Nonverbal communication? What exactly do you mean by that?
Things like your body language, eye contact, and posture can make a big impression.
I see. So, how can I make sure I'm projecting the right nonverbal cues?
Try to maintain a confident, open posture. Avoid crossed arms or fidgeting.
Got it. And what about eye contact? How much is the right amount?
Maintain good eye contact, but don't stare. It shows you're engaged and attentive.
Okay, that makes sense. Anything else I should be mindful of?
Yes, a firm handshake can go a long way in making a positive first impression.
A firm handshake, huh? I'll be sure to practice that ahead of time.
Definitely. And don't forget to smile and speak clearly throughout the interview.
Smile, eye contact, posture, there's a lot to keep in mind. I appreciate the tips.
No problem. Just focus on projecting confidence and professionalism.
Excellent advice. I feel more prepared now for my big interview.
I'm sure you'll do great. Just remember to put those nonverbal skills to use.
Will do. Thanks again for the helpful pointers.
Lesson 14, Staying Connected on the Go.
Excuse me, do you happen to know if this hotel has high-speed Wi-Fi?
Yes, I believe they do. I saw a sign mentioning a business center with free Wi-Fi.
Great, that's exactly what I was hoping for. I need to get some work done during my stay.
Absolutely. Having reliable internet access is so important these days, especially for business travelers.
Definitely. I rely on being able to stay connected while I'm on the road.
I can imagine. What kind of work are you planning to do on the hotel's Wi-Fi?
Mostly just catching up on emails and reviewing some documents for an upcoming meeting.
Ah, I see. The high-speed Wi-Fi should be perfect for tasks like that.
Excellent. It's such a relief when hotels offer good internet service for guests.
I agree. It's become an essential amenity, especially in the business world.
For sure. I always check the Wi Fi situation before booking a hotel these days.
Smart move. It can be really frustrating when the internet is slow or unreliable.
Absolutely. It can really hamper your productivity and make things difficult.
Definitely. I'm glad this hotel seems to have a strong Wi-Fi setup for guests.
Me too. It'll make my stay here much more productive and convenient.
Lesson 15: Booking the perfect hotel stay.
Excuse me, I couldn't help overhearing that you're booking a hotel stay.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm planning a business trip and need to find a good place to stay.
I see. How long will you be staying? And how many guests will be with you?
Well, I'll be there for 5 nights, and it'll just be me traveling on this trip.
Okay, great. 5 nights for a solo business trip. That gives you some good options.
Exactly. I want to find a hotel that has all the amenities I need for work.
Definitely. Things like high speed internet, a comfortable workspace, and maybe a gym.
Absolutely. And good dining options nearby would be ideal too, for meals.
Of course. Having convenient food choices can make a big difference on a business trip.
Definitely. I want to be able to focus on my work without a lot of hassle.
Totally understandable. Have you started looking at hotels in the area yet?
Not yet, I was just about to start researching some options. Any recommendations?
I actually had a great experience at the Hilton downtown on my last business trip.
The Hilton, huh? I'll have to take a look at that one. What did you like about it?
The rooms were spacious and comfortable, and the Wi Fi was fast and reliable.
That sounds perfect. I'll be sure to check out the Hilton as I narrow down my options.
Wonderful. I hope you're able to find the ideal hotel for your upcoming trip.
Me too. Thanks for the helpful suggestion. I appreciate it. Lesson 16, Trying a New Hobby.
Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear you talking about trying a new hobby.
Oh, yes. I've been thinking about taking up a new activity, but I'm a bit nervous about it.
I see. What kind of hobby were you considering? Maybe I can offer some advice.
Well, I was thinking about trying my hand at pottery. It seems like such a calming craft.
Pottery, huh? That's an interesting choice. What's making you nervous about it?
I suppose I'm worried about the necessary adjustments, like getting used to the equipment.
That's understandable. Trying something new can definitely be intimidating at first.
Exactly. I'm not sure if I have the patience or the skill to really get the hang of it.
I get that. But you know, the great thing about hobbies is that you can take your time.
That's a good point. I don't have to be an expert right away. It's all about the journey.
Precisely. The process of learning and improving is half the fun of a new hobby.
You're absolutely right. I think I just need to give it a try and not worry so much.
Definitely. And who knows, you might end up discovering a hidden talent for pottery.
That would be amazing. Okay, I think I'm going to go for it. Thanks for the encouragement.
Anytime. I'm happy I could help you feel more confident about trying something new.
Lesson 17, Navigating Differing Convictions.
Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. I hope you don't mind me chiming in.
Not at all. Please, go ahead. I'm always interested to hear different perspectives.
Well, you were discussing something about our pride, shame, and convictions, and I found that quite thought provoking.
Ah, yes. It's a complex topic, isn't it? Our personal beliefs and values can certainly differ from person to person.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, while we may not always agree, we can still respect each other.
Exactly. Just because our convictions differ, doesn't mean we have to let it divide us or become a source of shame.
Precisely. We should strive to be open minded and try to understand where the other person is coming from.
Definitely. At the end of the day, we're all human and we all have our own unique experiences that shape our beliefs.
That's a great point. It's important to remember that our convictions are often rooted in our own personal journeys.
Absolutely. And while we may not be able to change each other's minds, we can still learn from one another and grow together.
Definitely. There's value in listening to different perspectives, even if we don't fully agree with them.
Definitely. It's all about finding that balance between standing firm in our own beliefs while still being respectful of others.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a delicate dance, but one that's worth learning.
Absolutely. It's a skill that I think we could all benefit from cultivating.
Agreed. It's a journey, but one that's important for building a more understanding and compassionate world.
Well said. I'm grateful we had this conversation. It's given me a lot to reflect on. Lesson 18: Finding balance in intense discussions.
Hey, I couldn't help but notice you seemed a bit tense in that last conversation.
You're right. Things did get a bit intense there for a moment.
Yeah, I could tell. Maybe we should take a break and come back to it later?
That sounds like a great idea, actually. Sometimes it's good to step away when things get too heated.
Absolutely. We don't want to say something we might regret in the heat of the moment.
Exactly. Taking a breather can really help us gain some perspective.
Definitely. Plus, it gives us a chance to cool down and approach the topic with a clearer head.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance, you know? Being passionate about our beliefs, but also remaining open-minded.
Exactly. We can be firm in our convictions, but still respect the fact that others may see things differently.
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes it's good to just agree to disagree on certain things.
Definitely. There's no need to force a resolution if we're just going to end up butting heads.
Exactly. We can still have a productive discussion without it turning into a debate.
Definitely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where we can explore different perspectives without it getting confrontational.
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes it's good to just acknowledge that we may never see eye to eye on certain issues.
You make a really good point. And that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything to still have a meaningful connection.
Exactly. The key is being able to navigate those intense discussions with empathy and respect.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a skill that takes practice, but it's well worth it.
Lesson 19: Discussing environmental conservation.
Morning. Did you catch the news about that new wildlife preserve?
Yes, I did. I'm so glad to hear they're working on protecting those habitats.
Absolutely. It's really encouraging to see people taking action on these issues.
Definitely. Preserving natural environments is crucial for the survival of so many species.
Exactly. And it's not just about the animals, it benefits the whole ecosystem.
Totally. Healthy habitats provide so many benefits for the surrounding communities.
Absolutely. Things like clean air, clean water, and sustainable food sources.
Exactly. It's a win-win when we can find ways to coexist with nature.
Definitely. And it's not always easy, but it's so important that we keep trying.
You're right. There are a lot of challenges, but every little bit helps.
Definitely. Even small actions can make a big difference in the long run.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to see more people getting involved and taking an active role.
Me too. It's inspiring to see the community come together for this cause.
Definitely. When we all do our part, we can really create lasting change.
Absolutely. It's the only way we're going to protect these precious habitats.
Exactly. And it's not just about the environment, it's about the future of our planet.
Couldn't agree more. We have to think long term and do what's best for generations to come.
Absolutely. It's our responsibility to be good stewards of the earth.
Well said. It's a big task, but I'm confident we're up for the challenge.
Lesson 20, Discussing a business negotiation.
Hey Anna, did you have a chance to follow up on that negotiation we discussed?
Yes, I did. I spoke with them again and they seemed receptive to our proposal.
Wonderful. What were their main concerns or points of discussion?
Well, they mentioned a few things they'd like us to consider in the agreement.
I see. What kind of adjustments or compromises did they propose?
They asked if we could be more flexible on the timeline and payment structure.
That's reasonable. Did you feel like you were able to find a middle ground?
I think so. We discussed some options that could work for both parties.
Great, that's encouraging. What were the key details you were able to agree on?
We settled on a slightly extended timeline and a more phased payment plan.
Excellent, that sounds like a productive compromise. Did they express any other requirements?
Yes, they also wanted some clarification on the scope of work and deliverables.
Okay, that makes sense. Were you able to provide the necessary details?
Yes, I walked through the full project plan and addressed all of their questions.
Wonderful, it seems like you navigated that negotiation very well.
Thank you, I tried to be as responsive and flexible as possible.
It paid off. Reaching an agreement that works for both sides is ideal.
Absolutely. I'm glad we were able to find a mutually beneficial solution.
Me too. Strong negotiations like this really set the stage for a successful partnership.
Lesson 21, Scheduling a Meeting.
Alright, Anna, so we're all set on the negotiation details. How about we schedule a meeting to finalize everything?
Great idea. When would work best for you?
Let me take a look at my calendar. How about next Monday at 10 a.m.?
Next Monday at 10 a.m. sounds perfect. Shall I go ahead and block that off?
Yes, please do. That will ensure we have the time set aside to wrap this up.
Wonderful, I'll send a calendar invite right away so it's locked in.
Fantastic, I appreciate you taking care of that. Is there anything else we should prepare for the meeting?
I think the main thing will be to review the key points of our negotiation one more time.
Right, good call. We'll want to make sure we have all the details aligned.
Exactly. I'll put together a quick summary to walk through during the meeting.
Sounds good. And please feel free to reach out if you have any other questions come up.
Will do. I'm looking forward to finalizing this agreement next week.
Me too, it's been great working with you on this.
Likewise. I'm confident we're on the right track.
Agreed. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that calendar invite.
You got it. Talk to you then. Lesson 22, Exploring Niagara on the Lake.
Hey Anna, have you ever been to Niagara on the Lake in Canada?
No, I haven't. I've heard it's a beautiful town though. What can you tell me about it?
Well, it's located right on the shore of Lake Ontario, where the Niagara River flows into the lake.
Ah, I see, so it must have some gorgeous views of the water then.
Absolutely. The town has a really charming, historic feel to it as well.
That sounds lovely. What are some of the main attractions or things to do there?
There are lots of wineries in the area that offer tastings and tours, which are very popular.
Wine tasting in a picturesque lakeside town? That sounds like my kind of trip.
Yeah, the Niagara region is known for its excellent wines. There are also beautiful parks.
Ooh, and I bet the hiking trails offer amazing views of the lake and river.
For sure. It's a great spot for outdoor activities and sightseeing.
I'll have to add it to my travel list. When's the best time of year to visit?
I'd say late spring or early fall are ideal, the weather is mild and the crowds are smaller.
Good to know. That would be the perfect time to wander the historic streets.
Exactly. It has such a quaint, peaceful vibe compared to the more touristy Niagara Falls area.
That really appeals to me. I like the idea of a relaxing, picturesque getaway.
Me too. Niagara on the lake seems like the perfect spot for that.